Welcome back to the Uncelebrated Path, How Business Leaders Really Made It. I'm your host, Alex Mercer. If you caught our last episode on Whitney Wolfe Herd and her journey building Bumble, you'll know this show isn't about fairy tale success stories. It's about the real stuff: setbacks, pivots, quiet wins, and bold decisions that shape extraordinary careers. Today's story is about a snowboarder turned programmer turned tech visionary, a guy who wasn't trying to build the next billion-dollar company. He just wanted to sell snowboards online. What he ended up doing was rewriting the playbook for e-commerce, empowering millions of entrepreneurs, and building one of the most admired tech companies in the world. This is the story of Tobias Lütke, co-founder and CEO of Shopify. Let's rewind to the early 2000s. Tobias, or Toby as most people call him, was a young coder living in Canada, having recently moved from Germany. At that time, he wasn't trying to be the next Jeff Bezos. He just wanted to sell snowboards through a company he co-founded called Snowdevil. But there was a problem. Every e-commerce platform they tried was clunky, overly complicated, and just didn't fit the needs of a small business. Toby's response, he said, "Forget this. I'll build it myself." So he did. He coded the entire online store from scratch using a little-known open-source framework called Ruby on Rails. And it worked beautifully. Snowdevil eventually faded out, but the platform powering it didn't. That code became the foundation for Shopify. At first, Shopify was a quiet disruptor. No one outside the developer community was really paying attention. But inside the startup world, people started to take notice. It wasn't just the clean interface or the fact that it worked seamlessly. It was the philosophy behind it. Shopify didn't just sell tools. It gave control back to the entrepreneur. It said, "You don't need to be a coder to run a great online business." Toby never saw himself as a traditional CEO. He was, and still is, a builder, a coder, a problem solver, and that's exactly what Shopify needed. While most tech CEOs are in back-to-back meetings, Toby was still pushing code into production. His leadership style was grounded in first principles thinking, long-term vision, and a concept he called the trust battery. The idea that trust, like a battery, charges or drains based on every interaction. And that building a great company starts with building great relationships. But the road to Shopify's success wasn't smooth. Early investors didn't get it. Some pushed him to pivot to a marketplace model. Others doubted that a bootstrapped e-commerce platform could ever compete with Amazon. But Toby stayed the course. He believed in what he was building, and more importantly, he believed in the people he was building it for. Shopify hit a turning point around 2015 when it went public. But the IPO wasn't a finish line. It was a new chapter. The company grew rapidly, expanding into point-of-sale hardware, payments, and tools for international sellers. When the pandemic hit in 2020 and businesses scrambled to go online, Shopify was ready. It became the digital backbone for thousands of retailers who might have otherwise been left behind. At the height of the pandemic, Shopify was processing more than $40 billion in merchant sales per quarter. It became the go-to platform for both tiny side hustles and big-name brands. And Toby? He stayed grounded. No flashy press tours, no CEO bro energy. Just relentless focus on building tools that helped others win. But even success came with challenges. In 2022, Shopify's stock took a hit as e-commerce growth slowed post-pandemic. Toby had to make tough calls: layoffs, restructuring, selling off side ventures. Critics started circling. Was Shopify spread too thin? Had it overestimated the new normal? But here's what made Toby different. He didn't try to spin it. He faced it. In a letter to employees, he took full responsibility, saying, "I got this wrong." No excuses, no finger-pointing, just accountability. That kind of transparency only deepened the respect people had for him. And while he was leading Shopify through global growth, Toby was also making big moves outside of the company. In 2021, he joined the Giving Pledge, committing to donate the majority of his wealth to charity. He's also heavily involved in climate initiatives, and is a key figure in Canada's growing tech ecosystem, mentoring other founders and investing in homegrown talent. What most people don't know is that before Shopify, Toby struggled in traditional school environments. He dropped out of high school in Germany and took a vocational path into computer science. He's spoken openly about how traditional systems weren't built for people like him, and how that experience shaped his mission to build inclusive, flexible tools for others. Even now, Toby still describes himself as a software developer who happens to be the CEO. He's proof that you don't have to fit the mold to lead. That curiosity, craft, and care can take you just as far, if not further, than charisma and credentials. Toby's story is about more than building an e-commerce giant. It's about staying true to your principles in a world that constantly pressures you to conform. It's about building slow, building right, and trusting your instincts even when the world tells you to pivot. So, what can we take from Toby Lütke's journey? First, your greatest advantage might be the thing that makes you feel different. Toby never chased traditional success, and that's exactly why he found it. Second, success doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes the most powerful leaders are the ones quietly building in the background. And finally, real leadership is about service. Toby didn't build Shopify for himself. He built it so that others could build. Thanks for tuning in to the Uncelebrated Path. If Toby Lütke's story inspired you, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss next week's deep dive into another uncelebrated story of business grit and greatness. Until next time, remember, every setback is a setup for something greater. Keep building, keep believing, and stay on your path.